What gets you on a track to writing a song? Is it just something that comes in the middle of the night, or do you think about it for months? How's it happen?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what all songwriters would tell you. It really depends. In this case here, I was reading Psalm 3, and sometimes I get inspired by what I'm hearing. At other times, it's what I've read, and at other times, it's come through the experiences that I've had in my life that have either been joyous or heartbreaking.
What's the more difficult aspect of songwriting, the music or the lyrics?
Well, you know, that kind of comes both ways. Sometimes you get a great lyric, and then you're wondering how you're going to fit it to music. Right. And then other times you have this great little ditty, and you're trying to fit lyrics to it. I think the real magic, if I can say that, is when the two of them happen at exactly the same time. I've actually had it before where I was sitting in a worship service where I was leading, and the pastor had preached, and I've gotten a song right there and then. Thank goodness my band is really good. I can walk up and say, this is going to be kind of like this, follow me, here we go. And we've done it right on the spot. I think there's a certain, I guess, prophetic aspect to that sort of thing. Yeah.
Now, you're doing something that a lot of artists would love to do. In fact, many times we're watching secular artists and they're talking about this humanitarian effort or they're promoting that good work. You're actually right in the midst of doing something really significant in the Philippines. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been twice, and we're planning on our third trip right now. We go over there, we work with YWAM, and basically we go from community to community and reach out there. Music's such a powerful vehicle to reach people, and it also is it's not well, it's borderless, really, and so it's just an amazing thing to be able to go there and you're singing for these people. And it gives opportunity for us to do things like bring money, food, clothing, and also to speak to them about the reason that we're doing it.
Now you talk about music being borderless, and by the way, YWAM that you mentioned, Youth with a Mission, is a terrific organization. The fact is that a lot of cultures, a lot of ethnic groups and so on, have very, very different music values and styles to what we're used to in the West, and yet it seems that Western music sort of washes everywhere. Is that the case?
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially with the advent of the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows what's going on out there. Internet cafes are all over the place in the Philippines, and that gives them access to YouTube, for instance, right? So they're listening to the same music that we're listening to here, and it's a lot like a lot of other things. They want to be a part of that. They want to, and they enjoy it. So when we go and we play the songs that we would sing in our church, let's say on a Sunday morning, let's say it's a Hillsongs tune. Boy, I've never heard those songs sung like that before. It's just incredible. They know the songs. They're engaged in those songs. It's just an incredible thing.
Well, I've had this experience time and again in Africa and the work that we're doing there. I'm thinking, for instance, of a conference I did in Tanzania where all of the music was indigenous. They sang some of the most beautiful indigenous music I have ever heard anywhere in the world. But then, near the end of this 5-hour-long service, they stood up and sang "It Is Well With My Soul."
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I'm not sure I've ever heard it sung like that with such depth and such beauty any time in my life. And so they were able to cross the cultural divide from their very indigenous Tanzanian music to this classic that is known and respected all around the world.
Yeah.
So it has a kind of a universality to it.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's an amazing thing. I'll tell you what's really neat as a songwriter is to hear the songs that you've written sung in another tongue, which is really, really cool.
You've been teaching some, in fact, let me just refer to some pictures here. There you are with the guitar, and you're teaching these kids a song that you have written in their language, right?
Yeah, it's a song called "God Is Faithful,"
right.
And it's an echo back song. And on the right side of the picture there, you'll notice there's a couple of young ladies that are singing, and they had helped me translate it into the native tongue. And so we were teaching it to the kids in their language, and it was such a cool experience.
Wow! And then here you're teaching some praise and worship leaders.
Yeah, this was at a district conference, if you will, and these are all worship leaders from various churches across that particular island, and I'm teaching. It's fun teaching there because I'm teaching in English, and the gentleman on the right is translating. So, you know, everything has to be said twice. It's
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
And there I am with those kids after we had sung.
Great
That's,
shot.
I love that shot. That's an amazing shot.
Yeah. And then we have a shot of your family coming up.
Oh yeah.
Tell-
So you can see why I'm used to sitting around all kinds of kids.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
what? This looks like a daycare center.
Yeah, well, not quite.
How many do you have there?
We have 9, plus my beautiful daughter-in-law. So we have a total of 10 kids.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Now, you've been dealing with some real deep personal family issues here of late with regard to your wife's health. Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, you know, actually, I gave up working ministry for about a year, other than in my own local church, really, because my wife was going through breast cancer treatments. And, you know, I'll start off by saying this. She is recovered. She's doing very well. The doctor's given us a clean bill now, and she's now in that recovery process. But, you know, that word, cancer, is a very scary word. And, but, you know, I'm going to tell you, the things that we've really seen over the last year is God's faithfulness to us, but also the love of His people, caring for us and covering for us. It's just been an amazing thing. I think one of the other really neat things is how it's drawn us together as a family. You know, we certainly are not strangers to tragedy in our family, but you know, you go through these things and you have a choice. I've heard of a lot of people who just say, I can't deal with this, I'm gone. To me, that wasn't an option. And I'm not judging, I'm just saying, for me, this was a time to pull closer. And my wife, my beautiful, beautiful wife, Lorraine, she said at one point, she said, it's like what Dickens said, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, because when she was going through the chemo, it was very, very hard. But some of the time that we've spent together going through this, because I've gone to 99% of her appointments with her, and I've gone through this with her. We've also had some of our very, very best times together, growing as a couple, and then also just witnessing and seeing the love of God's people for us. It's been incredible.
Yeah. You don't realize what a great tribe you belong to until you face a time of crisis. This body of Christ concept is powerful.
It really is. We're not alone.
No.
No, we have each other, and it's great.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I was talking to a young man who at one point said to me, you know, he says, I don't really have a whole lot of use for the church. I've never really gone to church. I've been taken to church my whole life. And but he said to me, he said, you know, what I see your church doing for you kind of makes me think that there is really something to this. And, you know, I'm pretty sure he was talking specifically about our church, which I'm so thankful to be at that church that we're at. But what a strong statement that is, to see how these people are reaching out to us and how that impacts someone else.
When you're going through a dark night of the soul, how does that impact your songwriting?
Well, sometimes, you know, some of the most heartfelt songs come out of those times. I've got a new CD coming out in the summer, early summer, late spring. And on that CD is an album called Through It All.
I think we have a picture of it, don't we? We can put up there. There it is. Nothing.
Oh, that's Nothing That Compares. Well, that's the last album. But anyway.
Oh, so you get another one other than this?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, that's actually, I'm working on the third one right now.
Okay.
So at any rate, on that album is a song called Through It All. And it's a song that's really about, you know, like the lyric goes, though the darkness has come, still I praise you. Though the trials have come, still I praise you. Though I've buried my joy, still my heart will rejoice. Through it all, I praise you. And that came at a time that I had just, we had just buried our son, because we lost a son a few years back. And, you know, I tell you, it's those kinds of songs that really reach into people's lives as well, because people can relate.